Greetings everyone, I am arisvenetia. There is quite a lot of new content coming to NGS next week, and well, I want to go through and review all the new content we are getting in the immediate future. Firstly, we do know that Waker is releasing next week, though I will do a video on Waker itself, as well as the new story elements coming to the game next week. Firstly, we'll go over the more mundane topics. Emperor Rappy and Great Rappy will appear in trials, meaning they will persist after the event has ended. This is good, as it means more content will carry over from the event, and this is just good. The longer the event lingers, the better I think it will be. A lot of quality of life improvements were also mentioned, and I think this is a good thing. From augments being cheaper to customization options such as Arcs ID improvements. I, as always, don't have much to say about these. My issue with talking about quality of life is it is hard to really not look for the reason why we didn't have them in the game already. And while I'm not necessarily saying that they are bad things, I do think that they are good things, but my cynical mind does play that trick on me. Though in this case I will recommend improved rune transfer process is a godsend in any capacity. The new player friendliness as well that SEGA has been adding to the game is also probably a godsend for encouraging people to actually play the game. It is good because it means that we can get more players playing NGS more easily. It does make me hope that come episode 2 they actually advertise the game a bit and actually spend a bit on advertising to draw in more players when the time comes. But that is another topic. The real main topics I wanted to talk about today are the Addon Skills and the new addition to Trainia. Starting with the Addon Skills, I think a lot of people are concerned that we'll have to level up all of our classes to unlock them all. And well, first off, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even think about this. Leveling up all my characters is just something that was going to happen with me regardless of what SEGA did. But I can see why people are worried about it. Leveling a character up from 1 to 60 seems like a daunting task. However, I will say that it isn't as scary as you might think. But what do I think of the Addon Skills in particular? Well, from the ones that I've seen so far, I think that they do have a place, and I do think that they are an interesting system that just adds a little bit more depth to the game. These may be the skill points that people kept talking about in the previous build, as it is fairly common to have new features in the current version of the game that aren't active yet. However, it's hard to say with NGS because they do update regularly. Though I will say that the skills shown off so far don't appear that interesting. They appear to be based around increasing your HP, your PP recovery, or even your max PP. But there is a lot they can do with this skeleton, even if it is very basic. I would like to see skills that really change the way that you play. Maybe one of the skills could make you prioritize hitting really quickly to build up a gauge that then explodes. I don't know, but that is the first idea that comes to mind when I think of a bonus skill. Though there was the skill Encore Jump, and I have no idea what that does. And finally, we talk about Rank 2 Trainia. And, well, finally, this is one of the features that I've personally been screaming about since day one, and I'm finally happy that they finally did it. The Trainia are finally going to be used for something, and this makes it so the Trainia will always be relevant to gameplay, especially if they scale in difficulty like the Geolab does. Hopefully the Trainia drop loot, and I will also say that they dropped at a better time than the Geolab did. The Geolab dropped at the end of a patch cycle, so it got completely forgotten by the time we went to Gaveras. Of course they did add a weekly task for it, though the weekly task was a long shot for going to the Geolab, which took time to complete even on basic levels. The only thing I am worried about with the Trainia is hopefully the reward they drop is good enough for the challenge level that they will be giving. Chance at a rugged weapon is great and all, but I mostly mean giving us crafting materials such as Icicle Cube. A second source of Icicle Cubes would honestly be great. And no, it's not because I haven't made a Kaiser weapon yet. I am just very lazy. Though, if the Trainia do drop Icicle Cubes or there's a new craft weapon, I will definitely be looking into it, as the Trainia are more my type of content than, say, farming out an ancient enemy in a cave. There are also changes to the battle tier. The health of the enemies present in yellow battle tier will be reduced by half, as well as all triggers will be made universal. I think that the half health reduction in yellow battle tier is kind of unneeded, but it will reduce the friction of going into the yellow battle tier. I think honestly making the yellow battle tier have a level requirement rather than a BP requirement is a better idea in this case. I do hope that they do drop the BP requirement on yellow battle tier, as it would make them a lot more accessible to newer players. I think that if someone that is in level range for a red team battle tier can't enter a red team battle tier, that it is bad game design, at least for the yellow ones. Other than that, the battle triggers being universal kind of worries me. I have nearly 1,000 yellow triggers in my storage. Part of this is because I'm an alliance leader, and I do like helping my alliance members out if they need to level. Another reason is I spent a lot of time in yellow red team trying to level up my own classes, but I'm worried about the exchange. Will it be a 1-for-1 exchange in all battle triggers? Well, I kind of hope so. And will you still be able to use specific battle triggers for specific instances? I also hope so, because if there is some degree of loss in the exchange, it becomes unworth it to exchange. Especially, for example, if you have 500 alio triggers and you need 5 per one of the universal triggers. You can only do 20% of the alio triggers that you could have done prior, and it suddenly isn't worth your while. And while this isn't necessarily a bad thing, I do think that they need to be careful in the way they handle it. Making people feel like they've wasted resources investing in getting those triggers in the first place is a bad move, unless there is incentive to convert them. The last thing I want to talk about is the Alliance task record. Adding Alliance-based content to the game is great, and as an Alliance leader myself, I'm very excited to try to get my Alliance back into the game and really get them doing those tasks. Though that is part of the problem for me right now. My Alliance doesn't play the game much anymore, and I only have a small collection of players that still actively play the game, so getting the members of the community come back will be a struggle. And the thing is, I don't think that the patch is significant enough to draw many of those players back yet. So for that reason, I do somewhat think that the placement of this event is a bit misguided, though it is still a welcome event, especially if your alliance is on the active side, though hopefully it doesn't cause much friction between smaller and larger alliances who are looking for smaller alliances to absorb into their own to increase their ability to farm out the event. Could cause community friction, and I would be very wary of that. Even I would be more open to a merger at the moment just for that reason alone. Though I do have an obligation to my alliance members to make sure that they always have a place to return to. I've been RSV, hope you enjoyed my review, and I'll see you next time.